Have you ever caught yourself saying yes to something you didn't want, then wondered, how did I end up here? Have certain conversations left you feeling foggy, doubting your own thoughts? If so, you may have been subtly manipulated, without even realizing it. In this fast-paced, interconnected world, we engage with all kinds of people, each with their own intentions and methods. Some interactions lift us up, while others leave us drained or confused. But what happens when these interactions are laced with manipulation? Today, we're pulling back the curtain on one of the most pervasive forces in our lives, the hidden art of manipulation. This video isn't just another discussion, it's a revelation. We're breaking down the 10 most subtle and powerful forms of manipulation, and more importantly, I'll show you how to defend yourself against each one. Why does this matter? Because manipulation doesn't only come from those closest to us, it also seeps in from larger, invisible forces like the media and social networks. Mastering these techniques isn't just about self-defense, it's about reclaiming your autonomy and personal freedom. From gaslighting, which makes you doubt your reality, to emotional manipulation that tugs at your deepest vulnerabilities, I'll guide you through how to spot these tactics and stay in control. Ready to take back your power? Join me on this journey of discovery and empowerment. If you're new here, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Only 3% of my audience is subscribed, so if this content helps you in any way, I invite you to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications to stay updated. Let's start with the video. Form 1. Emotional manipulation. Emotional manipulation is like an invisible chess game, where your emotions are the pieces, and your mind is the board. Imagine walking through a magical forest, where each tree represents a different emotion: joy, fear, guilt. Manipulators know how to shake these trees, throwing you off balance. But here's the tricky part. Emotional manipulation isn't always obvious. It can be disguised as concern, affection, or even silent. A skilled manipulator diverts your attention with small, seemingly harmless actions or words that slowly weave a web of doubt and fear around you. Take guilt, for instance. Imagine a friend asks you for a favor, something that makes you uncomfortable. You decline, and they respond with a sigh, saying, "I thought we were friends." Suddenly, you feel selfish for putting your own needs first. You start doubting your decision. Another tactic is using fear. Someone might hint that something bad could happen if you don't follow their advice. It's like being in a dark room, where the only light comes from the person manipulating you, making you feel dependent on them for guidance. So how do you defend yourself? Self-awareness. Know your emotions. Understand what triggers happiness, sadness, anger, or fear within you. When you're aware of your emotional landscape, it's easier to notice when someone is trying to manipulate your feelings. Boundaries. Think of boundaries like doors. You can open or close them at will. Learn to say no without guilt, and accept that you can't always please everyone. Balance. Healthy relationships are like a dance. Both people move in sync, with mutual respect. If you're always dancing to someone else's tune, it's time to rethink that relationship. Communication. Don't be afraid to speak up. Sometimes a simple "I feel uncomfortable" or "I don't agree with that" can shift the entire dynamic. Remember, in the chess game of life, you are the king or queen of your own destiny. Form 2. Beware of logical fallacies. In the world of argumentation, logical fallacies are like mirages in a desert. They appear to offer truth and reason, but as you approach them, they vanish, leaving only confusion. Logical fallacies occur when arguments seem logical, but are built on shaky foundations. One common fallacy is the personal attack, or ad hominem. Instead of addressing your argument, someone attacks your character or personal traits. Imagine debating politics, and instead of responding to your points, Your opponent criticizes your education or background. It's like someone throwing sand in your eyes during a debate to blind you from the real issue. Another fallacy is hasty generalization. This happens when someone takes a small sample or experience and applies it to an entire group. It's like seeing one bird fly south and concluding that all birds must fly south. These sweeping assumptions fuel stereotypes and misunderstanding. Then there's the slippery slope fallacy, which argues that a small first step will lead to a chain of disastrous events. It's like saying, if you let your child stay up late one night, they'll never sleep on time again, and their future will be ruined. This tactic preys on fear and exaggerates consequences. How can you protect yourself? Education. Familiarize yourself with common fallacies. Think of it like a map that helps you navigate the desert of deceptive arguments. Critical thinking. Don't take every argument at face value. Question, analyze, and seek evidence to back up claims. Avoid using fallacies. In your own arguments, stick to facts and reason. Staying on point contributes to more productive and honest discussions. In a world full of misleading arguments, knowing how to spot fallacies keeps you grounded in reason and truth. Form 3. Gaslighting detection. Gaslighting is a particularly insidious form of emotional manipulation. It's like a mental game where the manipulator tries to make you doubt your own reality. Imagine someone slowly moving the furniture in your house, but insisting nothing has changed, making you question your memory. One common tactic is denial. The manipulator refuses to acknowledge the truth or invalidates your experiences. It's like seeing a shooting star and being told you imagined it, even though you're certain of what you saw. Another method is distortion of facts. Manipulators twist reality, making you question your memory. For example, you clearly remember a conversation, but they insist it never happened or claim you said something different. It's like being lost in a hall of mirrors where every reflection warps the truth just a little more. Trivialization is another tool, where the manipulator belittles your feelings, making you feel like you're overreacting. It's as if you're told you're making a big deal out of nothing when you're genuinely upset. How to protect yourself from gaslighting. Trust your intuition. If something feels off, it probably is. Trust your gut, and don't second-guess your experiences. Keep a record. Write down important events, conversations, or feelings. Keeping a factual log will help you stay grounded when someone tries to distort reality. Seek support. Talk to trusted friends or family. Sometimes an outside perspective can help you see the truth more clearly. Self-care and affirmation. Build your self-esteem and remind yourself that your thoughts, feelings, and memories are valid. Gaslighting is a tactic that can shake your sense of reality. But by trusting your perception and keeping a firm grip on your experiences, you can resist its effects. Form 4. Awareness of group pressure. Group pressure can be one of the most subtle forms of manipulation, but it can have a profound impact on our decisions and beliefs. It's like being swept away by a powerful tide, pulling you in a direction you didn't intend to go. This form of manipulation relies heavily on our natural desire to belong and be accepted by those around us. Sometimes, group pressure is as simple as dressing a certain way to fit in. Other times, it's more complex, like changing your beliefs or actions to align with the group's expectations. Imagine being in a room where everyone is speaking in the same tone, and you feel the need to adjust your voice just to blend in. So, how do you resist the tide? Build strong self-esteem. Knowing who you are and what you stand for is like having an anchor that keeps you grounded, even when the waves of popular opinion try to sway you. Stay connected to your core values. Recognize when you're being influenced. Group pressure isn't always explicit. Sometimes it's implied, like when everyone in your circle adopts a specific opinion or behavior, and you feel compelled to follow. Being mindful of when this happens allows you to make conscious decisions, rather than just going with the flow. Set boundaries. You don't have to be confrontational, but it's important to be firm. Imagine yourself as a tree. Your deep roots hold you steady, even when the wind tries to bend you. Stand tall and be clear about where you draw the line. Find supportive environments. Surround yourself with people who respect your individuality and your choices. Having a circle that encourages diversity of thought is like having a safe harbor where you can truly be yourself. In a world where the pressure to conform is constant, staying true to yourself is a radical act of authenticity and self-respect. Form 5. Identification of excessive flattery. Excessive flattery is one of the oldest tricks in the book when it comes to manipulation. It's like a sugary treat. It feels good in the moment, but too much of it can make you sick. Flattery plays on our need for validation and admiration, and while compliments can be sincere, they can also be a tool to manipulate. When someone is constantly showering you with praise, it can be easy to get swept up in the good vibes without realizing that you're being set up for deeper manipulation. Think of it as bait, sweet, but with a hidden hook. Manipulators use flattery to lower your defenses, making you more susceptible to their influence. They may compliment your intelligence, appearance, or achievements, but their intention isn't to boost your confidence. It's to gain your trust and make you more agreeable to their agenda. How do you protect yourself from excessive flattery? Stay grounded in reality. While it's nice to receive praise, always consider the context. Is the flattery genuine, or does it feel over the top? Recognizing when compliments are exaggerated can help you see the underlying intentions. Trust your instincts. If something feels off, it probably is. Pay attention to your gut feelings. Manipulation often works because we ignore the subtle signs of discomfort. Focus on actions, not words. Compliments are just words. If someone's actions don't align with their flattering remarks, be cautious. Watch how they behave over time. Keep your boundaries firm. Accept compliments, but don't let them cloud your judgment. Remember that your decisions should be based on what you believe, not on how much someone praises you. Flattery can be manipulative when used excessively. Staying grounded and trusting your intuition can help you see through the fog of sweet words. Form 6. Manipulation through scarcity. Scarcity is a psychological trick that can push you into making decisions out of fear of missing out. Marketers and manipulators alike use this tactic to create a sense of urgency, making you feel like you have to act now or lose an opportunity forever. It's like seeing a flashing sign that says, "Limited time only," or "Only a few spots left." The pressure builds, and suddenly, you're making a decision without taking the time to think it through. Scarcity taps into our fear of loss, making us believe that if we don't act immediately, we'll miss out on something valuable. This tactic is often used in sales, negotiations, and even personal relationships to rush your decisions. How can you defend against scarcity manipulation? Take a step back. Whenever you feel rushed into making a decision, pause. Remind yourself that scarcity is often artificially created to push you into action. Do your research. Before jumping into a decision, take time to evaluate the situation. Is the scarcity real, or is it being exaggerated to manipulate your emotions? Trust your long-term judgment. Think about what's important to you in the long run. Don't let short-term pressure cloud your ability to make thoughtful, well-considered decisions. Be comfortable with missing out. Sometimes, it's okay to pass up an opportunity. If it doesn't feel right, trust that there will be other chances. Scarcity manipulation plays on your fears, but by staying calm and thinking critically, you can resist the pressure and make decisions that truly align with your values. Form 7. Manipulation through authority. Authority is a powerful tool for manipulation, especially when we're conditioned to respect and follow those in positions of power. We often trust figures of authority, whether they are experts, leaders, or people in influential roles, and this trust can sometimes be exploited. Manipulation through authority is like a magician's sleight of hand, using status or credentials to blind you to what's really happening. When someone says, "Trust me, I know what's best," they may not always have your best interests at heart. The underlying message is clear: don't question me because I have more knowledge or power than you. But what happens when this authority is used to manipulate you into decisions or actions that you wouldn't normally take? Whether it's a boss pressuring you into an unfair deal or a public figure misleading an audience, authority can be twisted into a tool of control. How do you protect yourself from manipulation through authority? Question everything. Just because someone is in a position of authority doesn't mean they're always right. Don't be afraid to ask questions or seek a second opinion. Blindly following authority can lead you down a path you never intended to take. Trust but verify. Authority figures may have valuable knowledge, but you should still do your own research. Trust your own ability to gather information and form opinions based on evidence, not just status. Stay true to your values. Even if someone in authority tells you to act in a certain way, you're the one in control of your decisions. If it goes against your values or feels wrong, trust yourself and stand firm. Know your rights. Whether it's in the workplace or everyday life, knowing your rights can help you resist undue pressure from authority figures. Remember, authority doesn't equal infallibility. Staying critical and true to yourself will help you maintain your autonomy in the face of manipulative power. Form 8. The use of fear and threats. Fear is a primal emotion, and when used as a manipulation tool, it can control your decisions without you even realizing it. Manipulators use fear to create anxiety or dread, making you believe that if you don't act in a specific way, something terrible will happen. This form of manipulation is like being cornered by a predator. It's hard to think clearly when fear takes over. The manipulator plants the seed of doubt and amplifies it, leading you to feel as though the only way to avoid disaster is by complying with their demands. Fear-based manipulation can take many forms, from subtle threats to outright intimidation. For instance, a coworker might hint that you'll lose your job if you don't agree with their plan, or a partner might insinuate that something bad will happen if you leave the relationship. How do you defend against fear-based manipulation? Recognize fear tactics. Understand when someone is using fear to manipulate you. The more aware you are, the easier it becomes to separate genuine concerns from exaggerated threats. Stay calm. Fear clouds judgment, so it's essential to stay grounded and calm. Take a step back, breathe, and assess the situation with a clear mind. Evaluate the threat. Is the threat realistic, or is it being exaggerated to manipulate you? Look at the situation objectively and determine whether the consequences are as dire as they're being made out to be. Seek support. Talking to someone you trust can provide perspective and help you see through the fear. Manipulation thrives in isolation, so reach out to those who can offer guidance. Fear is a powerful emotion, but it doesn't have to control you. By staying calm and evaluating threats objectively, you can break free from fear-based manipulation. Form 9. Manipulation through guilt. Guilt is a powerful emotional tool often used to manipulate others into doing something they wouldn't otherwise do. It's as though you're carrying an invisible burden, and the manipulator constantly adds more weight to it. You feel obligated to comply, not because you want to, but because you're made to feel that you're in the wrong if you don't. Imagine a friend asking you for a favor, and when you say no, they respond with something like, "I thought you cared about me." Suddenly, you feel guilty, as if your refusal means you're a bad person or a bad friend. Guilt manipulation can be subtle, but it's incredibly effective because it preys on your desire to be a good, kind, or moral person. The manipulator frames the situation in a way that makes you feel as though you owe them something, even when you don't. How can you protect yourself from guilt manipulation? Know your boundaries. Understanding your limits and being comfortable with saying no is the first step. You don't owe anyone anything just because they try to make you feel guilty. Separate emotion from obligation. Just because you feel guilty doesn't mean you're in the wrong. Take a moment to consider whether you're truly responsible for the situation, or if the guilt is being imposed on you unfairly. Communicate clearly. If someone tries to guilt you, calmly and firmly explain your reasoning. You don't need to justify your decisions, but a clear and honest conversation can help break the manipulation cycle. Own your decisions. Stand by your choices. Manipulators thrive on making you second-guess yourself, but by being confident in your decisions, you take away their power. Guilt is a normal emotion, but when it's used to control you, it becomes a tool of manipulation. Recognizing this tactic and holding firm to your boundaries can help you break free. Form 10. Manipulation through love bombing. Love bombing is an intense form of manipulation where someone overwhelms you with affection, attention, and flattery in the early stages of a relationship, creating an emotional dependency. It's like a whirlwind romance that sweeps you off your feet, but behind the facade of love is a calculated effort to control and manipulate. The manipulator floods you with love, constantly telling you how special you are, making grand gestures, and showering you with attention. It feels euphoric, but once they have you emotionally hooked, the dynamic shifts, the affection wanes, and the manipulator begins to exert control over your thoughts and actions. Love bombing creates a cycle of dependence. You become addicted to the highs of affection and crave it when it's withheld, which gives the manipulator power over you. How can you defend yourself against love bombing? Take things slow. If someone seems too good to be true and the relationship moves at an unusually fast pace, take a step back. Love that is genuine takes time to build. Look for consistency. Manipulators can't maintain the facade forever. Pay attention to whether their affection and actions align consistently over time. Maintain your independence. Love bombing works because it isolates you from your sense of self. Stay connected to your friends, family, and personal interests outside of the relationship. Trust your gut. If something feels off or too intense, listen to your instincts. Manipulation often thrives because we ignore the early warning signs. Love bombing is a seductive form of manipulation, but by staying grounded and aware, you can protect yourself from being emotionally overwhelmed and controlled. Reclaiming your power and autonomy. Manipulation is an art form as old as human interaction itself. It thrives in our everyday lives, often disguised in harmless conversations, social expectations, and even in the ways we consume media. Whether it's a friend, a colleague, a romantic partner, or a corporation, manipulators employ a range of tactics to bend your will, often leaving you questioning your thoughts, actions, and beliefs. But here's the most important lesson. Recognizing manipulation is the first step in reclaiming your autonomy and power. The forms of manipulation we've discussed: emotional manipulation, logical fallacies, gaslighting, group pressure, flattery, scarcity, authority, fear, and guilt, are like a toolkit for the manipulator. By understanding how each tool works, you are better equipped to defend yourself, maintain control over your decisions, and live in alignment with your true self. We live in a world where external influences constantly shape our thoughts and actions. From subtle emotional cues to full-on propaganda campaigns, the ability to manipulate has become more refined in the digital age. Media outlets, advertisements, political leaders, and social influencers use tactics designed to elicit specific responses from us, whether it's making us buy a product, vote a certain way, or adopt a belief. However, once you're aware of these tactics, you can step back and critically analyze the situation before reacting. In doing so, you take the reins of your life back from those who seek to manipulate you. The beauty of awareness is that it empowers us to change the narrative. When we understand the games others play, we are no longer passive participants, but active players in the chessboard of life. Manipulation can only control you when you remain unaware of its existence. By recognizing manipulation, you disarm the manipulator. You reclaim your power to think independently, act with integrity, and protect your emotional and mental well-being. Beyond self-defense, developing emotional intelligence. The fight against manipulation isn't only about defending yourself. It's also about cultivating emotional intelligence, a deeper understanding of how your own emotions work and how you relate to others. Emotional intelligence helps you recognize not only when others are trying to manipulate you, but also when you might be unconsciously manipulating others. In our fast-paced, competitive world, it's easy to fall into habits where we use persuasion, pressure, or even guilt to get what we want. By becoming more emotionally intelligent, we not only protect ourselves from external manipulation, but also become more ethical, compassionate communicators ourselves. Emotional intelligence involves self-awareness, empathy, and regulation of emotions. When you are aware of your emotional triggers, you become less susceptible to someone using those emotions against you. Empathy helps you recognize when someone else is emotionally struggling, reducing your likelihood of engaging in manipulative behavior out of frustration or desperation. Emotional regulation allows you to stay calm and centered, even when someone is trying to provoke an emotional reaction from you. These skills are essential not only for defending yourself, but for creating healthier, more genuine relationships with those around you. The role of self-respect and boundaries. Another critical piece of the puzzle is self-respect. When you respect yourself, you recognize that your time, energy, and emotions are valuable. You don't allow others to manipulate or exploit you because you see the inherent worth in your thoughts and feelings. Self-respect is the foundation upon which healthy boundaries are built. Boundaries are your invisible shield, a clear line that dictates what you will and will not tolerate in relationships, work, and everyday interactions. Establishing and maintaining boundaries can be challenging, especially in a culture that often equates saying no with being unkind or selfish. But the truth is, setting boundaries is one of the most compassionate things you can do for both yourself and others. Boundaries not only protect your well-being, but also help clarify expectations in relationships. They ensure that your interactions are based on mutual respect and understanding, rather than manipulation or control. When someone tries to guilt you into doing something, for example, having clear boundaries allows you to stand firm without feeling overwhelmed by their tactics. It might mean saying, "I understand that you're upset, but I cannot do that right now," or "I need some time to think before I make a decision." These simple but powerful statements help to assert your autonomy without engaging in conflict or allowing the manipulator to take control. The digital age and the subtle art of manipulation. In the digital age, manipulation has taken on new forms, particularly through social media, targeted advertising, and algorithm-driven content. Every time you scroll through your feed or watch a YouTube video, you are being subtly influenced by what you see. Algorithms are designed to keep you engaged, often by playing on your emotions, whether it's outrage, fear, or excitement. Advertisements are tailored to your browsing habits, using scarcity, flattery, or group pressure to make you feel like you need a product or service. Social media platforms, in particular, have mastered the art of manipulation by creating echo chambers, spaces where we are only exposed to information that confirms our existing beliefs. This form of manipulation is particularly dangerous because it gives us a false sense of security, making us think that our views are universally accepted when, in reality, we are only seeing a curated slice of the world. In these echo chambers, it becomes even harder to question what we see, as everything seems to confirm our biases. The good news is that just as we can recognize manipulation in personal interactions, we can also train ourselves to be more discerning consumers of digital content. One of the most effective strategies is practicing mindfulness while online. Ask yourself, why am I seeing this? What emotion is it trying to evoke? Is this information factual, or is it designed to manipulate me? By taking a moment to reflect before reacting, you can reduce the power that digital manipulators have over you. The path to empowerment. Empowerment isn't about control over others. It's about control over yourself. The ability to recognize manipulation is a skill that can transform every aspect of your life, from your personal relationships to your professional career. Once you understand the tactics of manipulation, you become less reactive, more thoughtful, and better able to navigate complex social dynamics. Empowerment comes from knowledge, and by arming yourself with the tools discussed in this video, you've taken the first steps toward greater autonomy. The next step is to practice these tools in your everyday life. When someone tries to make you feel guilty, pause and reflect before responding. If you're faced with a fear-based tactic, assess the situation objectively rather than letting the fear control your decisions. In moments of group pressure, remind yourself of your values and stay grounded in your own beliefs. Each time you successfully resist manipulation, you strengthen your sense of self and your ability to navigate the world with confidence and clarity. It's not about being on guard at all times, but about being aware, mindful, and intentional in your interactions. Now that you have a deeper understanding of the hidden art of manipulation, it's time to take action. The next time you find yourself in a conversation that feels off, or when you notice someone trying to influence your emotions or decisions, remember what you've learned here. Take a step back, assess the situation, and decide how you want to respond. You are the king or queen of your own life. Don't let anyone else hold the reins. If you're new here and found value in this discussion, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. As I mentioned earlier, only 3% of my audience is subscribed, so if you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, now's the time. And don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss a new video on how to protect yourself, grow as an individual, and take control of your life. Together, we can create a community of empowered individuals who are aware, informed, and unafraid to stand up for themselves. Let's continue this journey of growth, self-awareness, and empowerment, because the world needs more people who can see through the fog and stand tall in their truth. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If you found this video helpful, hit that like button, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need to hear this. Let's strive to live better, more respectful lives. Until next time, stay strong, stay stoic.